Accidents, murders, and strange circumstances, these deaths shook the very foundations of the film industry. In this video, we reveal the untold stories of 15 Hollywood deaths that still haunt us today. Get ready to uncover the secrets, the scandals, and the shocking truths. Join us as we journey into the mysterious, tragic world of 1920s Hollywood. Olive Thomas. Olive Thomas, like many women of the 1920s, began her career as a beauty queen and transitioned into acting. She joined the famous Ziegler Follies, gaining fame for her roles in films like The Flapper. However, her life took a dark turn in 1920 when, during a second honeymoon in Paris with her husband, actor Jack Pickford, she tragically ingested mercury chloride, mistaking it for something harmless. After a night of partying, Thomas suffered immense pain from the poisoning, and despite multiple attempts to save her, she passed away on September 10, 1920, at just 25 years old. Her death sparked rumors of foul play, with some speculating that her husband might have poisoned her. However, the official ruling was that it was an accident, caused by her consuming the substance unknowingly. Olive Thomas's death, although ruled an accident, became one of the first Hollywood scandals, making headlines across the country. Her tragic end highlighted the darker side of fame and the struggles that many stars faced behind closed doors. Despite her short career, Thomas's most famous role in The Flapper still holds a place in film history, representing the carefree spirit of the Roaring Twenties. Virginia Rappe. Virginia Rappe was a beautiful actress and model whose name became forever linked to one of the most infamous scandals in Hollywood history. In 1921, she was found in critical condition at a party hosted by silent film star Fatty Arbuckle. The details of what happened that night are still debated to this day. Some witnesses claimed that Rappe was severely intoxicated and in distress, while others reported strange behavior on her part. After spending a few days in Arbuckle's hotel room, Rappe was taken to the hospital, where she died on September 9, 1921. The official cause of death was a ruptured bladder and peritonitis, a painful infection. However, the circumstances of her death sparked rumors and a media frenzy, with some suggesting foul play. It was alleged that Arbuckle had assaulted her, but the claims were never proven. The case against Arbuckle went through multiple trials, and despite the drama, he was eventually acquitted. However, the scandal ruined his career. Arbuckle was a beloved figure in Hollywood, known for his comedic roles, but after the scandal, he was banned from major studios and faded from the spotlight. His career never truly recovered, and Virginia Rappe's death became one of the most widely discussed Hollywood tragedies of the 1920s. Although Arbuckle was cleared of all charges, the media frenzy and the widespread gossip made it difficult for him to continue in the industry. The case raised questions about the dark side of Hollywood and the treatment of women. Virginia Rappe, unfortunately, became more famous for her tragic death than for her acting career, which was cut short at just 26 years old. William Desmond Taylor. William Desmond Taylor was a famous film director and actor in the early 1920s. Known for his charm and good looks, Taylor was well-liked in Hollywood. But his sudden and mysterious death shocked the world. On February 1, 1922, Taylor was found dead in his Hollywood home. He had been shot in the back, and the circumstances surrounding his death were suspicious. On the night he died, Taylor had spent time with actress Mabel Normand, but after she left his house, he was found murdered. His neighbor heard a loud noise around the time of his death, which they thought sounded like a car backfiring. Police found little evidence at the scene, but it was clear that the killer didn't rob Taylor because valuable items like his wallet and jewelry were still in his pockets. The case became even more confusing when it was revealed that Taylor had led a secret life. Before becoming a film director, he had disappeared from his family for several years and had changed his name. Some people thought his past might have played a role in his murder. There were a number of suspects, including Mabel Normand, who was one of the last people to see Taylor alive, and Mary Miles Minter, a young actress who allegedly had an unreciprocated love for him. Despite many theories, the case remains unsolved to this day. The murder of William Desmond Taylor added to the growing sense of danger and scandal surrounding the Hollywood film industry. It was one of the most talked about deaths of the time, and the mystery surrounding it made it even more captivating. Taylor's death marked another chapter in the dark side of 1920s Hollywood. Wallace Reed. Wallace Reed was one of the most beloved stars of early Hollywood. Known for his good looks and impressive acting talent, Reed was a top leading man in the silent film era. He appeared in films like Birth of a Nation and The Valley of the Giants, which solidified his place in Hollywood's growing film industry. However, his promising career was tragically cut short by his addiction to morphine. In 1919, Reed was seriously injured in a train accident while filming The Valley of the Giants. To cope with the pain, he was prescribed morphine, a common practice at the time. Unfortunately, Reed developed an addiction to the drug, which worsened his health and behavior. As his addiction deepened, Reed's career started to suffer, and he became a shell of his former self. Reed was pressured to continue working in Hollywood, which only worsened his condition. By December 1922, he had lost a significant amount of weight and was physically incapable of working. His wife, actress Dorothy Davenport, finally convinced him to check into a sanitarium, but it was too late. Reed died on January 18, 1923, from complications of pneumonia at just 31 years old. After his death, his wife worked hard to raise awareness about drug addiction in Hollywood, using his tragic end as a symbol of the dangers of the film industry's pressures. Reed's death showed the dark side of fame and the impact of Hollywood's grueling schedules on its stars. While he was remembered as a talented actor, his death also sparked conversations about the industry's role in enabling addiction. Thomas Ince. Thomas Ince was a highly respected film producer and director who played a crucial role in shaping the early Hollywood film industry. He founded his studio, Inceville, in California, and was known for pioneering many techniques in filmmaking. Ince helped develop the Western genre, and many actors, including Mary Pickford and Charlie Chaplin, worked with him. However, Ince's life came to a shocking and mysterious end. On November 15, 1924, Ince went on a yacht trip with the powerful newspaper magnate William Randolph Hearst and his mistress, Marion Davies. The details of what happened aboard the yacht are unclear, but it is rumored that Ince was shot. Some stories suggest that Hearst had mistaken Ince for Chaplin, whom he was jealous of because of his rumored affair with Davies. Although Ince's death was officially ruled a natural cause, with some reports claiming it was due to a stomach ulcer, the rumors surrounding his death led many to believe that foul play was involved. Witnesses reported seeing a bullet wound on Ince's head, and some believed that Hearst had ordered the fatal shooting to protect his relationship with Marion Davies. Ince's death did not cause a long-lasting media frenzy like other Hollywood tragedies. However, his sudden demise raised questions about the dangers of power, jealousy, and intrigue in the film industry. Ince had been one of the most influential men in early Hollywood, and his death left a void in the industry. Today, his legacy lives on in the contributions he made to film production, though the true cause of his death remains unclear. Rudolph Valentino. Rudolph Valentino was one of the biggest heartthrobs of the 1920s, loved by women all over the world. He became famous for his roles as the Latin lover in films like The Sheik and The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Valentino's charm and passionate performances made him a superstar in Hollywood. His fame seemed unstoppable, and he quickly became one of the highest-paid actors of the time. However, Valentino's career and life were tragically cut short. In 1926, he fell seriously ill while on a promotional tour for his latest movie, Son of the Sheik. He was rushed to a hospital in New York City, where doctors performed emergency surgery for appendicitis. After the surgery, Valentino's condition worsened due to complications, including peritonitis, an infection in the abdomen. Despite fighting for his life, Valentino died on August 23, 1926, at just 31 years old. His death shocked the world and led to an outpouring of grief. Thousands of fans gathered in New York to mourn the loss of their idol. The funeral was chaotic, with fans rushing to see his body and some even fainting in the crowd. The public's reaction showed just how deeply Valentino had affected his fans. His death is still remembered as one of the most dramatic moments in Hollywood history. Valentino's tragic death added to his legendary status, making him an eternal figure in Hollywood. His movies remain popular today, and his legacy as a romantic icon lives on. Had he lived longer, he might have continued to shape the film industry. But his early death cemented him as one of Hollywood's most unforgettable stars. Calvin Coolidge Jr. Calvin Coolidge Jr., the son of President Calvin Coolidge, tragically died in 1924 at just 16 years old. His death was a devastating blow to the Coolidge family and affected President Coolidge deeply. Calvin Jr. had been playing tennis with his brother on the White House lawn on a hot summer day when he developed a blister on his toe. At first, the blister seemed harmless, but soon it became infected. The infection quickly spread, causing blood poisoning. Despite receiving medical attention, Calvin Jr.'s condition worsened. Doctors did everything they could, but the infection continued to spread throughout his body. On July 7, 1924, after several days of suffering, Calvin Jr. died in his father's arms. President Coolidge was devastated, and the loss of his son seemed to overshadow his political responsibilities. The death of Calvin Jr. had a lasting impact on President Coolidge. The president had been popular with the public, but his son's death caused him to withdraw from his duties. It is believed that the emotional toll of his son's passing contributed to his decision not to seek re-election in 1928. The Coolidge family's grief was private, and the public never saw the full extent of the president's sorrow. Calvin Jr.'s death also drew attention to the reality of life in the White House, where even the most powerful families are not immune to personal tragedy. The Coolidge family's loss was a heartbreaking moment in the history of the 1920s, a reminder of the fragile nature of life, even for those in the public eye. Ray Chapman. Ray Chapman was a professional baseball player for the Cleveland Indians, known for his dedication and skill. He was a beloved member of the team, and his death in 1920 shocked the sports world. On August 16, 1920, during a game against the New York Yankees at the Polo Grounds in New York, Chapman was struck in the head by a pitch thrown by Yankees pitcher Carl Mays. The ball hit him on the side of the head, just above his left ear, and Chapman immediately fell to the ground. At first, many believed that Chapman had just been knocked unconscious, but it soon became clear that the injury was far more serious. Chapman lost consciousness and was rushed to the hospital, where doctors tried to save him. Unfortunately, the blow to his head had caused a severe brain injury, and he died a few hours later, at the age of 29. Ray Chapman's death was the first and only time in Major League Baseball history that a player died from an on-field injury. His death led to a major shift in how the sport handled player safety. After Chapman's death, the league began discussing the need for better protection for players, especially when it came to head injuries. Chapman's death was a wake-up call that helped bring about safety measures, including the eventual introduction of batting helmets. Chapman's funeral was attended by thousands of fans, and his team, the Cleveland Indians, went on to dedicate their victory in the World Series later that year to him. Chapman's tragic death not only changed baseball, but also left a lasting impact on the sport's safety standards. Max Linder. Max Linder was one of the earliest film stars, known for his charming and comedic roles. Born in France, Linder was one of the first to become an international movie star during the silent film era. His films were successful, and he was considered a pioneer in the film industry, inspiring future stars like Charlie Chaplin. But behind his happy on-screen persona, Linder struggled with deep personal issues, including depression. During World War I, Linder served as a driver, but the trauma from the war affected him deeply. His mental health began to decline, and after the war, he struggled to find his place in the film world. His popularity waned, and he became more withdrawn. In 1923, Linder married a young woman named Nanette, but their marriage was troubled. Linder's depression only worsened, and he became increasingly paranoid. In 1924, Linder and his wife were found dead in their hotel room in Vienna. Both had overdosed on veronal, a sedative. The circumstances surrounding their deaths have been the subject of much speculation, with some suggesting it was a murder-suicide. Others believe that Linder's depression led him to convince his wife to take the fatal dose with him. Linder's tragic end overshadowed his career and contributions to early cinema. Although his legacy was largely forgotten for a time, his influence on the comedy genre can still be seen in the work of later comedians. Max Linder's life and death serve as a reminder of the pressures faced by stars, especially in the early days of Hollywood. Martha Mansfield. Martha Mansfield was an up-and-coming actress in Hollywood during the 1920s. She had a promising career, starring in films such as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and the Warrens of Virginia. Known for her beauty and grace, Mansfield was quickly gaining fame in the silent film era. However, her life came to a tragic end in a horrifying accident. In 1923, while filming The Warrens of Virginia in Texas, Mansfield was wearing a large hoop skirt as part of her costume. After finishing a day of shooting, she got into her car, unaware that her dress had caught fire from a match. The fire spread quickly, and despite the efforts of those around her to put out the flames, she suffered severe burns. Her co-star, Wilfrid Lytell, tried to help her by throwing his jacket over her to stop the fire. Mansfield was rushed to the hospital, but her injuries were too severe. Despite initial reports that she might recover, she died on November 30th, 1923, at just 24 years old. Her tragic death shocked Hollywood and left many wondering how such an accident could have occurred. The exact cause of the fire was never fully understood, but it was believed that the match had been thrown carelessly by someone else involved in the filming. Mansfield's death marked the loss of a rising star, and she became one of Hollywood's first major casualties. Her final film, The Warrens of Virginia, was released without her, and the role was recast. Although she was just beginning her career, Martha Mansfield's death made headlines and was remembered as one of the saddest stories in early Hollywood. Harry Houdini. Harry Houdini was a famous magician and escape artist known for performing death-defying stunts. Born in Hungary in 1874, Houdini moved to the United States as a child and quickly became famous for his incredible ability to escape from handcuffs, straitjackets, and even locked boxes. His most famous stunt involved being submerged in a tank of water, where he had to escape while holding his breath for several minutes. In the early 1920s, Houdini was still performing his amazing feats, but he had also become interested in debunking spiritualists, people who claim to have supernatural powers. He used his knowledge of magic to expose fraudulent mediums and help people understand that their spiritual experiences were just tricks. Houdini's life took a tragic turn in 1926. While performing in Montreal, Canada, he was punched in the stomach by a student who wanted to test Houdini's strength. At the time, Houdini had been recovering from a foot injury, and the punch caused his appendix to burst. Though he continued to perform, his condition worsened, and he was rushed to the hospital. Despite surgery, Houdini's health deteriorated rapidly. He developed peritonitis, an infection caused by his ruptured appendix, and his body was unable to fight it. Houdini died on October 31, 1926, at the age of 52. His death shocked the world, as he had been one of the most famous performers of his time. Houdini's legacy lives on in magic and entertainment, and his death only added to the mystery surrounding his life. Even today, people still talk about his incredible escapes, and his name is known worldwide as one of the greatest magicians in history. Enrico Caruso. Enrico Caruso was one of the most famous opera singers in the world during the early 20th century. Born in Italy in 1873, Caruso became known for his powerful and beautiful voice, which made him an international star. His recordings were immensely popular, and he performed in opera houses all over the world. Caruso was considered the greatest tenor of his time, and he became one of the first opera singers to achieve true worldwide fame. However, Caruso's health started to decline in the late 1910s. He suffered from persistent headaches, and in 1920 he was injured when a pillar fell on him during a performance. Despite the injury, he continued to perform, and many fans were unaware of how seriously ill he had become. In December 1920, during a performance in New York, Caruso's throat began to bleed. Despite this, he finished singing, using multiple handkerchiefs to wipe away the blood. Caruso's condition worsened, and he had several surgeries in early 1921 to treat his illness. Doctors struggled to help him, and Caruso continued to suffer. In the spring of 1921, Caruso seemed to improve for a short time, but his health quickly declined again. In early August 1921, he fell critically ill and was rushed to the hospital. Doctors discovered that he had a severe abscess near his liver and his heart was failing. Caruso died on August 2, 1921, at the age of 48. His death left the world of music in mourning, as he was one of the most beloved singers of his time. Caruso's legacy as one of the greatest tenors in history remains strong, and his recordings continue to be enjoyed by opera fans around the world. Warren G. Harding. Warren G. Harding was the 29th President of the United States, serving from 1921 until he died in 1923. Harding was popular when he first took office, but his administration later became known for scandals, including the infamous Teapot Dome scandal, which involved government officials accepting bribes in exchange for oil drilling rights. Despite these controversies, Harding was well liked by the public during his presidency. In the summer of 1923, Harding went on a tour of the West Coast to regain public support and address concerns about corruption in his administration. However, during the trip, Harding's health began to decline. He had been feeling weak and suffering from chest pains, but he continued with his speeches and public appearances. After visiting Alaska and the Pacific Northwest, Harding's condition worsened, and he was taken to a hotel in San Francisco to rest. On August 2, 1923, Harding suddenly collapsed while resting in bed. His wife, Florence, was with him at the time, and doctors were called immediately, but they were unable to revive him. Harding was pronounced dead shortly after. The cause of death was listed as a heart attack, although some rumors suggested that he had been poisoned. However, there was no evidence to support this claim, and the official cause was heart failure. Harding's death left the country in shock, and his passing marked the end of a presidency clouded by scandal. After his death, Harding's administration became more closely associated with corruption, and his legacy was tarnished. Harding's successor, Calvin Coolidge, took office after his death and continued to serve out the remainder of Harding's term. Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson was the 28th President of the United States, and he is best known for leading the country during World War I. He worked hard to make the world safe for democracy and helped create the League of Nations after the war, although the United States did not join. Wilson was also known for his leadership during difficult times, including negotiating the Treaty of Versailles, which ended the war. However, Wilson's health began to decline during the last few years of his presidency. In 1919, while in Paris negotiating the peace treaty, Wilson became very sick with the flu. He had a terrible cough and felt very weak. His illness lasted for weeks, and it left him very tired and unable to focus. Despite this, he continued to work hard and gave speeches in support of the Treaty of Versailles. In October 1919, Wilson suffered a severe stroke that left him paralyzed on one side of his body. His stroke was kept a secret from the public for a while, and his wife, Edith, played a major role in managing his care. She made many decisions for him, including who could visit and what public duties he should fulfill. Some historians believe that during this time, Edith Wilson acted as a de facto president. After leaving office in 1921, Wilson's health remained poor. He retired to private life, but he was never fully able to recover. On February 3, 1924, Wilson died peacefully in his sleep at the age of 67. His death came after several years of serious health problems, and it marked the end of an era in American politics. His leadership during the war and his efforts to create the League of Nations are still remembered today. Lord Carnarvon. Lord Carnarvon was a British aristocrat who became famous for his role in the discovery of the tomb of the ancient Egyptian pharaoh Tutankhamun. He had a passion for Egyptology, and in the early 1920s he funded an excavation led by archaeologist Howard Carter. After years of searching, on November 4, 1922, Carter discovered the tomb, which contained treasures and artifacts that had not been seen for thousands of years. The discovery made headlines around the world. However, just weeks after the discovery, Lord Carnarvon became ill. On March 19, 1923, he was bitten by a mosquito while in Egypt. When shaving, he accidentally cut the wound, which became infected. Despite his attempts to treat it, the infection worsened, and Lord Carnarvon developed blood poisoning. Just a few days later, on April 5, 1923, he died at the age of 57 in Cairo, Egypt. While experts dismiss the idea of a curse, the mystery of Carnarvon's death remains linked to the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb. Many people connected his death to the ancient curse, and some speculated that it was no coincidence. Despite the rumors, Lord Carnarvon's contributions to archaeology and his role in one of the most famous discoveries in history are still remembered today. And that's a wrap on the 16 most shocking Hollywood deaths of the 1920s. Some of these stories are still shrouded in mystery, and others are forever etched in the history of cinema. What do you think? Were these deaths just tragic accidents, or is there something more to the stories? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the darker side of Hollywood, make sure to hit the like button, share with your friends, and subscribe for more fascinating stories from the past. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the untold tales of history.